Hi everyone and welcome to this week's Markets to Watch newsletter from Smack the Markets for week beginning 24th of May 2021. So this week we begin with actually a very light news schedule. We've got a public holiday in quite a few European countries and in Canada. So the data slate is very light today and we actually have no data releases at all this Monday. But that does change as the week progresses. We have some very big items, very interesting items as the week progresses. We have the Kiwi interest rate decision on Wednesday. That's the New Zealand dollar interest rate decision. On Thursday, then we have some interesting GDP items out of the US as well, which are sure to keep the markets interested. So if we just take a look at some of the more interesting charts and structures to start this week, we'll start with the US indices. So if we take a look at the mini Dow to begin with, we can see what's happening here on the weekly chart, putting in a couple of weekly rejection candles in a row, looking quite bullish. And we also have similar action going on in the S&P and the NASDAQ. In fact, the NASDAQ last week broke its downtrend and is now looking quite bullish as well with two weekly rejection candles off the lows. So if we can break this last week's candle, that's a very bullish signal for a start. Price last week closed very close to the high part of last week's range, and this week so far we're in a very narrow range as well to start the week, and it's still very close to the high point there. So if we just look at the 4-hour chart, we can see the same kind of action. That level to the top side being very important. Price just below that 34,400 level. We can see that the high point there was put in on Thursday, so breaking that should signal further buying and maybe with a view to closing this window to the highs that we can see here on the 60-minute chart. So just to open up the 60 for a minute, we also have double pivots there today, and we have a monthly pivot that's been very respected from price since it's been there, and we can see the action there, and then just a few points higher, that high that was put in on Tuesday. So quite interesting chart there, and if it does break those levels, that should signal further buying. On the Forex side of things, we have the dollar index hovering around this 90 level now most of last week after it selling off into it on, I think it was Monday or Tuesday. It's been up and down every day since then and not really having a clear direction. So until that clears up and breaks the highs or the lows, the dollar market's not looking so good. If it does break the lows, obviously that'll be in line with the prevailing trend here and the overall view of the US dollar weakness this year, which is expected. So if we look at some other markets, not dollar related, we can look at the likes of the Kiwi versus the yen. This is an interesting looking chart. So we're coming to the end of May. We've another week left, but so far we've had 4 weeks in a row testing this high point here, just above that area of around about 79, and it's been quite rejectful of it every time it's been there. Last week's candle, very bearish candle, the most bearish weekly candle we've seen around that level since price got there, and broken the low of the previous week as well. So very bearish signs there, and the yen was strong last week and it also is strong today so far at least. So on the daily chart then we can see what's happening here. It's just sold off into this other big level of around about 78, very precisely tested and a round number as well as that. So breaking the lows there, that would signal, opening up the window here and hopefully closing it as well to the bottom side down to that 77 area. And we can kind of see the same sort of action going on the 4-hour chart here, compressing into this level, rallying a little bit just on the last test now. But if it can break that, that opens up a nice window to the bottom side on this. And if that continues on the line of that yen strength. From a commodity point of view, if we're looking for something interesting in the commodities charts, we had quite a buying action going on last week on the gold chart. The previous 2 weeks didn't break the high, but after that, we got quite a rally getting through some of these more interesting levels on the daily chart. So we can see the highs there, the old highs, that area around about 1880. So it got through that last week, but didn't make an awful lot of headway after that. I think it was Wednesday when it got through it, and it didn't really make much headway since then. So if we just look at the potential to the upside, if it did manage to break last week's candle, which was the Wednesday candle, we can see that there's quite a window up there to around about 1922 or so on this, if it does manage to get going there. So there's some of the more interesting charts this week, I think. Next week we'll be back on Tuesday as it's bank holiday in the UK, and I hope it helps. So we'll be back then and speak to you later.